everybody. My dad thinks his podcast is amazing, so please subscribe, give it 5 stars or whatever, and maybe he'll finally stop talking about it. Anyways, welcome to Sobriety.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show today. As you know, another special guest. Today is Peter Baylis. Peter's a good friend of mine from the Great White North. Let's welcome Peter on into the show. What's up, Peter? How are you, buddy?
What is going on?
How are you? Welcome to the show, man. I'm glad you joined us today.
Oh, man,
How are you?
I'm so honored. Thank you for asking me. This is super duper. How's it going with you guys?
Good.
Buddy, we're doing great. Glad to have you on the show, man.
Privilege,
This is awesome.
privilege. Thank you so much. I've been watching
So let's
watching episodes and get up to speed with a few of the people, so it's all good.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Spread the word.
Yeah,
Love
right
it.
on. Have I met Jess before?
So,
No,
I don't think so. Yes.
Hi,
first
Jess.
time,
Pleased
yeah.
to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. I see that guitar back there. Ryan says that you're one
Bring it
hell
out.
of
You
a
want me to bring it
musician.
out?
If you bring it out, we'll just sit here and sing the whole time, and then Ryan will have nothing to contribute.
Yeah, I'll just get up and leave. Well, let's dive into your sobriety, Peter. So give me a little backstory. I've known you for about a year now, and you and I have become pretty good friends during our whole path to sobriety. But I guess what I wanted to ask you was, what brought you to that moment? I mean, was it a day that just kind of turned things around and said, I can't fucking do this anymore. I'm done.
It's a ladder, right? It's been many rungs.
Oh yeah.
Been many rungs of me looking at myself going, you've got to fucking stop, right? This is where I like to remind everybody that I'm 61. You guys are just young whippersnappers. So I've been through this journey. I've stopped and started. Oh man, I'll just take the 5 years, okay? Because that's when I really look at the effort that I've made to stop. It was in the past 5 years. So, through some therapy and through some questions that I've had with therapists, we're able to ascertain that in the past 5 years of my life, I've actually been alcohol-free more days than alcohol. The shitty thing is, when I've had alcohol, like you've heard me say, 1 is 40, 40 is let's fucking burn everything down. That's how it got for me. When I say that, I mean like fights with the wife calling the cops, me fucking rolling around on the floor being an idiot, me saying things that I wish, as they're coming out of my mouth, I wish I could catch them and drive them back in my mouth. Really horrible things. But the real one, several things were said to me too that I never really picked up on. My wife would always say, you're a different person when you drink. And you know what? I don't know if you've ever heard that, but it's like, it never fucking registers, right? It's like, what are you talking about? I don't have a problem. Even though I have just caused the biggest possible scene that would be remarkably horrible for most people in our alcohol-ridden brains. We're like, well, that wasn't that bad. It's like, I can drink a whole life at a time and be okay, but when I set shit on fire, set shit on fire. So she would say, you're not the same person when you drink. And I just I couldn't register until, if you like, the real last episode, which, as you know, was she went away, and she had gone away. I was 4 months into Reframe because I had burned something down 4 months prior to. I was listening to meetings. I work for UPS, so I couldn't participate. Headphones, driving country roads in the big, loud brown truck and all that stuff. But I was paying attention. I was doing the daily tasks. And, I thought, okay, I'm here. This is all good. But 4 months into it, I'm sure we'll get into this later in this conversation. 4 months, I'm like, I'm all right. That stupid voice, right? I'm sure you've had it. I'm all right. I can do this. I've done a year and a half prior to this. I've done 6 months prior to this, but I always had that voice going. Always. It's so spectacular how big it is now, right? Because the voice is like, oh no, you're an adult. You're going to go back to drinking. There's no problem. You can have a few. And You work hard, you deserve it. We've heard all these things, but you can work. You deserve a drink. So that voice was always there. So I did that when she went away at 4 months after being on reframe, thinking, okay, I'm walking on air here. I'm good. I can do this. Giant steps are what you take walking on the moon. Like thinking I'm like just levitating and okay. But no. I had a drink. She was gone. It turned into a 26er of vodka with a 1.5 liter bottle of red wine over a couple of days with about 3 or 4 tall boy cans of beer. You know what I'm saying? In a compressed 48-hour period, I probably drank enough for 5 people, right? I woke up on the couch. It was 3:30 in the afternoon. I probably was drunk and then got up, had a drink, fell back asleep, passed out, whatever it was. Got up, looked at my watch, 3:30. Automatic thought was, take the dog for a walk. This is what time I take the dog for a walk, right? Not completely understanding that I'm still completely fucking intoxicated. Get in the car. It's a day after a snowstorm. I get the dog in the car. I don't know how the hell. I don't even, honestly, this is so embarrassing. Don't even remember. Don't even remember that activity. Going up the hill, I guess. But I do remember going down the hill having that thought of, what the fuck am I doing driving, right? And then I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that adrenaline rush. You have an adrenaline rush when you're loaded. Sobriety kicks right in, right? So we had this little rotary at the end of the road. I went around that rotary, swerved in another rotary, apparently, as I found out later. Some guy followed me up the hill, back into my driveway. My driveway it was a fresh snowfall, so the streets were really narrow. I live on this really narrow street. It takes a bunch of times to back in anyway. Meanwhile, he's followed me. He's out. He's taking pictures of me, the video of me doing this. Come in the driveway. In that state, somebody confronts you. I probably was a belligerent loudmouth. What the fuck? What are you talking about, you fucker? I'm just walking my dog. Get away from me. Well, he dials the cops. As I find out later, I think I've shared this before, that he was he worked for the Metro Transit, which is our bus service, but he was also a member of the Halifax Police Auxiliary Department. So he was scoring points, but he's also doing his job. But he wasn't on duty. So I was belligerent, got in the house. I don't know how much time passed, to be honest with you, but I did pass out again. I hear a knock on the door, my back door, which is, if anybody knows us well enough, when somebody comes to the back door, I must know you, right? Because you're coming to our back door. I'm like, come in. Nobody, nothing. So I get up and I see 3 cops right there. I'm home for I don't know how long, and there's 3 cops at my door. So what am I thinking? What are you doing here? So now I'm belligerent with the police, right? They come in the house. They immediately arrest me. I got physical with them, apparently, but I don't really remember this. But I think it was just because I thought, what are you doing in my house? I wasn't driving. Little did I know that I've already been photographed and videoed on something, right? I didn't know all that stuff at this point. So they bring me downtown, all that shit. My wife then, my neighbors call my wife. She's away. She gets on a flight immediately to come back to Halifax because I'm in jail, right? I'm in jail for the night. And, they let me out, but I get home before my wife does. But then she comes home. And because I've had so many episodes, I'll call them episodes, prior to that this was like, there was always the be all end all. This is no more. This is it. You're done. We're done. It's over. This one she was calm. This is over, Peter. It's like, we are finished. Just get out. Well, we can't get out yet. Figure this out. You're going to get help, but we're done anyway. So I immediately freak out because I can't, this is a whole other aspect. I can't imagine my life without her, even though I took full advantage and did stupid things. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing emotionally, but that's what alcohol does, right? It plays with your reality so much. Even when you're still like quasi recovering, like stops and starts, still the neural networks are still thinking you're involved with alcohol somehow, right? So you're not of yourself at all. If you're still drinking, stopping, starting, you're still not who you really are. So I'm freaking out. I got to do something, but I really have to do something. I know I have the app. I know that I've lied on the app now a couple of days about doing the task, saying I hadn't drank, but I subsequently went back and changed all those days and adding the drinks on those days, right? So I couldn't get any help from the Nova Scotia Health Authority because, I mean, Canada, you guys are, you hear about our health care system. It's fucked up like everywhere else in the world. You know, it's not as, yeah, sure, everything is paid for, but to get into the process of healthcare, it's damn near impossible. So I'm like, I can't do it. There's nothing I can do. I recontacted my psychiatrist with everything to do. So I'm doing everything to repair. First and foremost, get back to some sort of reality with my relationship, as well as create the new relationship with myself, right? This new relationship is going to be now once and for all completely devoid of alcohol. There was no other option at that point. Now, I know we talk a lot about rock bottoms, and rock bottoms are a moving target, but I've had several rock bottoms prior to this, right? So I knew instinctively that this was no longer healthy. I'm going to die, right, if I continue this way. There's no question. I've already been to the hospital once with a heart episode after drinking. That was one of my episodes. You know, I didn't want to die like that. That was a night where my heart rate was 174 to 194 for 7 hours.
Holy shit.
7 fucking hours. Ryan, you're an athlete. When I got, they did all the work, all the pictures and stuff. I'll get back to the rest of the story in a second. They do all the pictures of my heart and all that kind of stuff, and they lie me down, and after 7 hours, it finally comes down. It's sporadic beat, but it's down to like 71 beats per minute. And my resting heart rate, I don't know about you, still, because I'm still athletic, wake up in the morning, it's 46 beats per minute every single day. A really good resting heart rate. So they said to me, the only thing to save your life, 2 things save your life. That was that night. You coming here, and the fact that you have an athletic heart. So I've already had a really horrible episode. Now back to the other one. So when I was trying to get the help after the fuck up with the police, now I've got the guilt and the shame. I've got another pile on. I've made my wife come home from visiting my daughter in Toronto, who was going through her own stress. So now I'm living with, so now I know mentally there's something definitely wrong. And, you know, you've heard me in shares talk about the mental health issue. It's become such a big thing in our reframe community. It's really good that it is that. But it's like, okay, this is not, the alcohol's the paint, as I say, right? You got to figure out why your house needs to be painted or if it needs to be painted, right? You got to go, okay, something else is bigger here. Anyway, so the Reframe app came. I got more involved in meetings, and you heard my speaker share. Fucking Cody reached out to me. That changed my life. I was already on this path of I got to stop. There's no more of this voice that says, oh, you'll get back to it. You know, maybe I've had 2 or 3 of those experiences in the now 8 straight months. Just yesterday, weird enough, I think I shared, I'm 366 alcohol-free days in the 371 that I've been on Reframe. So I've had a year of days in the past 371 days. So I just knew through the trouble with the law, because I'm looking at myself in the mirror going, what the fuck are you doing? You're 61 years old. You have found yourself in this god-awful 18-year-old, 20-year-old position. You are an embarrassment to yourself, your wife, the community I live in, right? The people I work with know, because I don't know about you guys, I'm a drunk texter phone call guy. So on one of those days, I was like calling guys that I knew at work and saying stupid shit, you know, just horrible. But I knew, to answer the question more succinctly, it's like, this is the time, this is the one. This is what it means. Got on the meetings, you know, in AA, they say do 90 meetings in 90 days. I did 342 meetings in 90 days on Reframe. So thank the Lord that application was available. Because thank the Lord, I'm a bit of a spiritual guy too. It's like if that wasn't there, you guys, I don't know. I really don't know. It's terrifying to think. I don't know if I get into an outpatient thing or an inpatient thing. You know, they told me that the outpatient thing was a 3-month wait. The inpatient was, we'll figure when we can get you in. Not that I even wanted to do that, but I had to entertain that in order to save my relationship, which in turn saves my life, right? All these things are tied together emotionally, intellectually, the history of 34 years with this woman, my 28-year-old daughter, the roof over my house, the car, the dog, everything, everything starts flashing before your eyes. And I know for a fact that if I was out on my own, like it's like projected and future tripping, I guess, out on my own, God knows, I might just, pardon the real directness, might drink and stand on that bridge. You know what I mean? I'm alone now. I fucked up my life, but I knew that is not an option. There's too much more to live for, right? There's too much more in this life that has to be done. Never mind making the reparations for the damage, which is one big thing. But now let's press a restart button, a reboot button on life. And that life does not fucking well include alcohol. It's that simple, I've heard these people talk about, I don't want to get off on a tangent here, but the slips and all that stuff that people talk about, like, I almost have to pull away from that at times because it's like, man, I can't, I just can't, because it hits a place in me that gets too visceral, right? It's like, fuck, man, you don't know what you're about. Like, if you're day 30 and you have had an relationship with alcohol for 26 years, man, you don't know what you have to go through yet, right? You still have a fucking ride to take. And I'm still on that ride. I'm still on the ride. Like, I was out playing a gig last Saturday night, like I was sharing on the meeting, it's right in front of me. I was the guy that would go to the gig. Let's get drinking. Let's go. Let's do that. But now I'm looking around going, well, I can't judge anybody because that means I'm in a glass house now. But I can judge who I used to be in those circumstances. And sure, let's be honest, it's a relationship with alcohol. So there was some good times. Little did I know that I was establishing the roots of an alcohol use disorder, which is mine. It's binge drinking. And I set shit on fire. How's that for a short answer?
That's it's pretty good. I expected longer. Yeah, no, and you brought up some really good points there. So, like, you and I have a lot of similarities, except music. That's you and Jessica. But, when you were talking about the slip, right? At first, my first probably 3-4 months, on meetings, when I heard people talking about it, I'd get off.
Fuck, right. It's just because it drives you nuts, man.
Yeah. It was tough on me because, I didn't want to judge somebody, right? Because I'm not them. I want to take care of me. And my big thing was, I didn't want to have that mindset, like, okay, it was okay for them. Maybe it's okay for me this weekend to take a night off. And you can't. So it took me a while to get that. And then I kind of changed my mindset, which, I don't know if you've gotten to that point yet, Peter, but, now I'm in a different role. So instead of being the person that's like, I don't want to listen to that, I'm going to get off the meeting. Now I'm more of in an encouraging role. Like, buddy, you're back. You're talking, you're telling your story, which, it takes a lot of balls to do. To come in and say, hey, I fucked up, and here's what happened, but I've learned from it. That's the big
you're
thing.
Absolutely right. So just it occurs to me, there's a whole bunch in the beginning when you got to stop. You got to stop. There's a whole bunch of selfishness that you have to go through. Really, not in a negative way, not in a hurtful way, but you got to focus so much on this mental health and the neural pathways that are expecting that substance to come in your body, right? So, yes, it's terrifying to hear about it. Now, like yourself, when I hear about it, it's like, come talk to me in person. Let's do a one-on-one. Let's go. Just come and talk to me. I'll tell you all about them because now I'm a certified coach. I know how to talk about this shit with that stuff with that stuff in me, and how to recognize it. But it was difficult. Man, I don't want to get off on a tangent here. Sometimes in those meetings, it's dangerous. I have a very long discussion with somebody else that's on Reframe about this very topic, and it's like you gotta own. It's not a slip; it's a choice. You gotta own it. You can grow from it. You're back. That is awesome, but never forget how you felt when you reached for it to have it, which we call the decision to make or the slip. Don't forget that moment. Don't, because the next time you go, remember that moment, and then you can put it down. And that's so. Yes, I'm with you. It's like, yes, because we've been through what we've been through, we can now offer help to people. Like what you're doing here right now with this podcast is awesome. You know what I mean? It's out there. You're helping people, man. It's honorable and good on you. And it's a pleasure to be here, like I said. So I feel, but I'm in a place. It's so weird, and I think it's because it was the stops and starts. But I'm in a place, man. I think you're the same place. It doesn't even occur to me. It's like whatever. Fucking. Okay, yeah, that's yeah. Of course, that's when I would go drink. Unbelievable that I used to do that, but it's like, oh, fuck, wow, you used to do that, but now you don't even. Now it doesn't even like. Oh fuck! There it is. Okay, look, there goes. When our grocery store's attached to the liquor store, you see people go in. It's like, hey man, I used to go in there all the time. Well, fuck, you know what? You can have it. I drank enough for 10 people in my life. It's time for somebody else. I don't mean that, but you know what I mean. We talk about the people that can moderate, like all the power to them, man. Honest to God, my wife, for example, right? She never ever had a problem. Like this is something I should share too that I didn't really extrapolate too much on the speaker share. My entire life is surrounded by alcohol. It is like it's a partnership, right? Like I was drinking young, and then I got into the bar business. And then I got into the music business, and then I got into the acting business, and then I got into like owning a restaurant, owning a bar, right? It was there. It was always its best friend time. It's part of my minutia. It's part of who it made me sort of who I was, which is a falsity, I know, but it's like, it was there. So to give it up, for me to give it up, some of my friends that have been around me my entire life are like, holy shit, man. Like you're giving this up and you're like doing it like this and you're doing it so well this time. That is admirable, man. All the power to you. Like you and I talk about it too. And I wear it like a badge, If you go somewhere and, kind of know some people and they ask you want something to drink? Yeah, I'll have soda water or whatever you got. Give me a 0.0 Guinness. Oh, don't you want to drink? No, I don't drink. And then depending on the reaction, you can go, no, I just don't drink. So go pound sand, go kick rocks, as you say. I don't drink.
That's right.
Fuck it. I used to, and it was a great and bad thing. It was a horrible but wonderful thing a lot of times, but no. And I just like, whatever, man. It's such a, I think you're there too, man. It's such a freeing feeling. When you don't have to think about that in your life, like going to dinner at your friend's place, going out to a bar, going to hang out with your brother, they're coming to town for dinner. Like when you don't have to think about having a drink or it's just like, this is so awesome. I don't have to think about what I'm going to do if I get too drunk. I don't have to think about how am I going to get home. I don't have to think about what I'm going to drink. I don't have to think about how it's going to beat up my wallet. You know what I mean? It's just like, fuck it, man. I'm going to enjoy the experience with the people that I'm around because that's what we're supposed to do, right?
Yeah. It's a shame we lost so much of that time and money, and it rented so much space in our head all the time because that's all we thought about. We thought about when's the next drink or how am I going to get another drink if they close or something happens or what if they run out of my favorite drink? Something like we're always thinking, or how are we going to get home?
Mm-hmm.
And then we end up in situations where we're like, oh fuck this, we got it. Yeah, we can drive, we're good. And then we end up in crazy ass situations, setting the town on fire. So
and to piggyback on that, I heard you talking about your wife and how she would say, you turn into this different person. You're like, what are you talking about? We talked a little bit about this when Mickey was on the podcast, but I think the disconnect there is, at least in my experience, with people who are truly that close to you, like your wife, or, like my brother and I are very close, and he's been sober 4.5 years. And the first, what was it, like year and a half, he didn't want to see us, not like out of like malice, but he was just like, I got to focus on me. And I think it's because we are, you're having fun, having fun. I'm using air quotes here. You're drinking, you're drunk, you're fucked up, you know what I mean? And you're getting sloppy, so you drink more and you drink more. So when, I'll say your person, because it's different for everybody. When your person shows up, it's like hitting that embankment. It is that sobering moment where you are faced with, okay, you're reminding me of the things I don't like. So go away. And so you get into this cycle, because that's how it was with us, because as the person on the other side of it, we can only absorb so much. And you go through phases with that, just like you go through phases with grief. So at first it's it's fine. Like, I can manage this with this person being drunk. And then it's I'll just pretend to play along, and I'll, would make him sit on the couch. I used to do this all the time. It's like, if he just sits down for 5 minutes, he'll pass out, and I'll just like tiptoe into the bedroom and he won't bother me, And we, on the other side of it, sort of lie to ourselves to make us think that that's working. So it's like we get addicted to the person and the behaviors, and it snowballs. And eventually we explode. Like you were saying, your wife was like cool, calm, and collected. It's because when you've dealt with it for so long, and you have an exit plan. I always had an exit plan. I always had a plan. Now, I didn't want, I never executed it. But when that moment happens, you're like, I'm not freaking out anymore. I know exactly what I need to do. It's like when someone says, when people stop calling you, when they stop checking on you, when they stop reacting emotionally, that's when you actually need to worry. Like, we don't cry and get in a tizzy and get upset about people that we don't care about. I mean, we might have some empathy, but it's not going to cause a visceral reaction from us. And now, I think the reason that y'all don't really crave the alcohol anymore is because you like what's staring back at you now. So you're like, I don't want to drink that away. So it's flipped. Do you know what I mean? Like, before, you were drinking it away because you're like, I know I was shitty yesterday, or somewhere deep down, you're like, I do kind of know what you're talking about as far as this monster, but the lies we tell to ourselves, right? And make like, what are you talking about? It couldn't have been that bad because you're still here. If it were that bad, then why are you still here?
True. It has a deleterious systemic effect, right? So it just means there's so many links in that chain of how bad it is, right? And we're unknowing, as I said, and I had this conversation with therapists and other people, like, and Jennifer, my wife. I've said, you see a person intoxicated that I don't fucking well see, like, as you just said so aptly, so eloquently. So our memory is not even anywhere near what yours is, because you wake up the next day and remember every goddamn thing, when our memory is, oh shit, it's blurred and it's selective too, right? Because then we go, well, it wasn't that bad. And it turns out, if you had a video camera on and you saw yourself, you'd go, like I said to my wife before, why the fuck are you still with that guy? You know what I mean? Yeah. But she did say, when she sees me in all this, in sobriety, over the time, she goes, well, there's the Peter. There's the Peter that I know. There's the one that I love. There's the one that that I know I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And, she was also very reluctant of my stops when I stopped and started. She was very reluctant this time, when I can't blame her. Yeah, no, yeah, right? I can't blame her. Right. And I'm telling you, maybe you have the same, Jeff, you have the same thing. I see in my wife's eye, and I hear in her tone once in a while, she doesn't 100% believe it yet. She knows I'm doing the work. she's very proud of me. I've actually heard her say, she didn't know I caught this at earshot. She did say, and I heard it made me feel kind of good. She goes, "Well, this time's different, I think." The first time she's ever said it.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked away and out the back door of my house and just, cleaned my eyes up for a second. Oh my God, this is good. I must be doing something right, So, but you're right. And I mean, it's not lost on me the damage that I've caused in my life, like, because of my behavior. Like, when you talk about yourself, I don't know what Ryan was like as a person when he was drunk around you.
Mean. We've been very honest about this. Very, very mean. Not physically,
but
verbally.
Here.
So mean.
And it turns out, in fucking therapy and reading books, and I'm a fan of psychology and a fan of sociology and all that stuff. But,
me too.
It turns out it was just us. We were just projecting our inner anger. Mm-hmm. Like, I used to cry. Like there's so much I want to tell you. Like the hiding booze too. I turned into a day drinker. I was never a day drinker. I turned into a hider. Hiding what? Fuck, she knew anyway. But I used to sit in a mirror, and I thought about this because I just talked about it. So many times, my wife is upstairs asleep. My daughter is just right there in that room asleep. She's in Toronto right now. But back then, when I was doing this, I would be in the bathroom, the door closed, little powder bathroom downstairs, bawling my eyes out, loaded out of my fucking eyes, going, "You're a fucking loser. You're a fucking loser." And then I'd start pounding things, right? Like, just in this tiny room, thinking that nobody could hear me. And then she would come downstairs. And because I was caught in the action on self-hatred, then I projected it on her, right? "What are you doing here? Leave me the fuck alone." When all she is concerned, right? And she saw that so many times, she got desensitized to things. So when I bring home my conversations with my psychiatrist, and it's a clarity thing, she's like, "Oh my God, you're learning so much. This is so different for you. This is like, I see my psychiatrist now once a week or once every 2 weeks, and I have to. Until, like, I don't know if you've heard me say this before. I call the reframe shares the meetings, the practice, and my psychiatrist is the game, motherfucker. Lights are on, time's running, let's go, right? But I've learned this helps so much, and I do feel, back to your point, I can't make up for all the shitty shit that I've done. And it's been, even when I say that, it doesn't even begin to, like it can't, it was so fucking horrible, the things that I did. I wasn't physical. Once or twice, maybe, like grab by the arms or something, but never like just to stop, or move out of the way so I could get out of the room. But, if I hit her, I would have left. Like, you know what I mean? If I woke up and she told me I hit her, that I would have been gone. Well, that's it. I'm leaving. There's no hope for me, right? But the psychological damage, the emotional damage, the distrust because of the lying about drinking, the things that I did do when I drank that were just completely fucking dishonest. I owned a bar, man. You know what I mean? I owned a bar that did very well, and it was fucking jam-packed, and I was the publican, and I loved the attention because I was loaded. But, I stayed out till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning doing drugs, drinking, flirting with girls, the whole thing, and then lying about it. So there's so much damage in that behavior. And it's such a selfish behavior. Like I said earlier, we have to be selfish in the early part of healing ourselves. And then we have to be very open and giving as much as we possibly can. But all the behavior was seeking something that I never was going to find. Destroying things that I didn't know I was destroying at the time, and causing a very deep-rooted problem, like I said earlier, called alcohol use disorder, right? I didn't know. I had no fucking idea. It's in the blood because both my parents were really bad. I read this book called, look it up, I can't remember the author, it's called, written in the 70s, it's called It Will Never Happen to Me. And it's about the environmental and the genetic aspect. And of course, it will happen to you, right? If you have both. My great-grandparents were they ran booze during the Prohibition to the States, down the Ottawa River, so they were very wealthy, so their life was all about partying. So my mother's life was about partying. She brought partying. The first time I tried alcohol, I was 7 years old, like I shared. the creme de menthe. Oh, this tastes like a goddamn peppermint. And I feel funny, like, look, seed planted, boom. Now all you got to do is just add more and more over time. Like, anyway, I could go on. I'm sure we can go on. You've heard us all go on about it, but I'm just happier. I'm not going to let go of the things that I caused because it helps me in the moment to learn and grow from it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to carry the guilt and shame as much, but I'm not going to forget what I did with alcohol and what it caused on other people. I can't. If you forget that stuff, you're doing yourself a disservice. You have to remind yourself, like, fuck, if I drink again, that shit's going to happen. And that's just not going to happen anymore. So, it's a rough, tough journey, as we all know. It is fucking hard work and such a drag. You said something, Ryan, earlier, like, if we had known, like, only if we knew then. That's that Rod Stewart song, if I knew now what I knew then when I was younger, like, but you don't. You just go through it until you realize, like, I realized it was a problem in my mid-40s, right? I remember sitting at my desk in my office in the bar that I owned, going upstairs, and this is cocaine days and stuff, and sitting there at the desk by myself and saying out loud, everybody's gone, and the place is closed, saying out loud, what the fuck am I doing? Like, what am I doing? This is so ridiculous. Like, well, just stop, and then, nope. And then they fast forward into, like, a year, like, time off then when I was drinking a bit. Like, I was casually drinking with my wife, and then it turned into binge, right? But going to the liquor store, sitting in the liquor store parking lot before going in to buy the little fucking pint of vodka or the half pint of vodka and the can of beer or something, and grabbing my steering wheel, crying, going, don't go in, for fuck's sakes, just don't do it. And then you do it. Then you go, like, the power of that substance and what it does, as we now know with the neuroscience of it all, the power is, like, it's unbelievable, right? You got to dig so fucking deep to create new neural pathways. And it is an ongoing process. So for anybody watching this that's early on when it goes to air, it is a long process. You got to keep the faith, though. If your faith in being alcohol-free is being alcohol-free, prepare for the fucking bumpy ride, because it ain't fucking easy, man. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay. You've been slammed in the corner by a 250-pound guy on skates. That's fucking painful. I've been blindsided 15 times by middle linebackers and cracked my head off the ground. That's fucking painful. Not knowing. I called a huddle once, Ryan. I went to the defensive huddle and called the huddle because I didn't know what I was. Anyway, but that shit's hard. But this is really fucking hard.
Yeah.
It is easy once you get into the rhythm of it, as we all know. It is easy to avoid, but like I can also share that first 90 days, and it's funny how they pick 90 days. It's like they know it all, right? The first 90 fucking days, like, I look back on them now and go, how did I even get through those 90 days? I was an anxious, uptight, freaked out, give me something to calm me down mental case, right? I just had to avoid everybody, I'd have to sit there with my wife, and she would decompress, and I had to take it, man. I had to take all of it. Because back then, she still wasn't believing me, right? Even though I was telling her I was on meetings every single day, she still was like, well, you got to get some other help. I said, well, I don't know what else to do, Jennifer. I'm seeing my psychiatrist. These meetings are incredible. Listen to the meeting. This is another thing I don't know what you're like.
I don't have any sort of substance abuse problems.
Did you listen to it?
No, I don't listen to any of the meetings, just out of respect for the privacy. But I did go to loved ones meetings, and I struggle with a ton of mental health stuff. And I've said in the past that, I mean, almost, if not everyone I love and adore in my life struggles with addiction. The majority of them have gotten sober. Some of them have passed. Some of them are still using. I've been through the gambit. But for me, when my brother got sober 4.5 years ago, it was like 30 or not 30, what am I thinking? 6 months into his sobriety. And this was like right in the worst of Ryan's.
Mhm.
I mean, it's all bad, but this was like literally one of those moments where I dreaded him like coming home from work. Like I looked forward to him going out of town. And I know we joke about like, oh my gosh, you going out of town saved our marriage. I'm not talking about just you're bothering me. I'm talking about like
I searched for chaos.
even when you weren't, like even when he wasn't drinking, he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Like it was just bad
Well,
all of the time.
That's residual.
Yeah. Yep. And so my brother had been sober for about 6 months, and his addiction was drugs, alcohol, anything. It was not just alcohol, and his was bad. And when I realized he was getting better, I just kind of thought to myself, like, because he was in his active addiction for 20 years. And when I got him back, I was like, if he can do this, I can do this. And I didn't want to leave. I mean, a big part of me wanted to leave my marriage, honestly. But this sounds horrible now, but it's an investment. I mean, it's a business too. Like we had a home, we have kids, we have this life, we have money. Like you don't just walk away from something that you've invested literally all of yourself into. Like you don't just go, I'm going to leave.
It's an emotional contract, and it's a fucking business contract.
And it is a business, and I'm like, we have a daughter, and what does that look like? And I know that people would always look at me and just be like, God, I would never put up with that. You need to just leave. You need to just leave. And we've said on previous podcasts, like we are first generation, like, I don't want to say success, but like money, meaning that, I mean, I grew up very poor. You grew up with limited means. I mean, he saw where I grew up. When I say poor, I mean like trailer, sticks, rough poor. And, there was no, like, I had family, but there was no family who could like help me financially. So I thought, okay, what is tangible for me? I'm going to start working on my mental health. I can't make him quit drinking. I'm not ready to leave my environment. So I'm going to work on my mental health. And very long story short, I sought out a provider. Her name's Lauren. I attribute all of my mental health success to her. I would schedule appointments, cancel, I mean, and that even now I struggle with that. And finally she just reached out. She found me on Facebook. She reached out to me and she was like, hey, I see you've canceled a lot of your appointments. What's wrong? And I was like, oh, just, I have to work and this, that, or another. When really it's just when you're constantly miserable, you don't want, I mean, you're just frozen. You don't want to do anything. And so she was like, well, number one, I don't want to have to start charging you cancellation fees. But two, are you having some sort of mental health struggle? And she just knew. I don't know how she knew. I mean, we knew each other just because our kids went to the same school, but like had never really had a conversation, had never met in person. And it was like she just knew, like something just drew her to me. And she was like, listen, make the appointment and just show up. You don't have to talk to me. We don't have to take your blood. I mean, you can literally walk in the door, sit down in a chair, be completely silent for 5 seconds and turn around and walk out. Just show up. That's all you have to do. I won't even come in the room if you don't want me to. Just show up. And I showed up to that appointment and the rest is, I mean, I bawled my eyes out. I told her all about Ryan. And that was something I didn't divulge to a lot of people because I was so scared of the judgment. And she was so non-judgmental and she didn't push meds. I am medicated, but like she got to know me first and really felt me out. And so I'm not going to say that was the beginning of the end of your drinking because you are responsible for your drinking, but that was the beginning of him really noticing that I was out. Like I may have physically been there, but that moment until he got sober, I slowly detached myself to the point that like his meanness, his drinking, it did not affect anything I was going to do. No matter what he did, no matter how bad it was, I woke up the next day and I proceeded on with my life and my day exactly as I would before. And it was my escape plan. And also when you work on your mental health, I was so focused on, I can't control, like, what are you going to do? Like, you're not going to burn the house down. I mean, if you go to jail, don't call me. And I would tell him that. I'm like, don't call me. He's like, oh, you let me sit there? Fuck yeah, I'll let you sit there. I'll let you sit there until the end of days. Don't call everyone else except for me. And he really started spiraling because he realized that, like, it's not that I wasn't reacting, but I wasn't reacting the way I was before. Like, he would be mean and he would be belligerent, and I would just be like, are you done? Because, like, I got to get up in 2 hours. Okay, we're going to do this? Okay, all-nighter, I guess. Go make a pot of coffee.
You found a shield, right? Yeah.
Yep. And then, it went from him being mean to being remorseful, like calling me in the middle of the night and crying because he realized, I mean, I don't know if he realized anything, but things just changed because I was like, listen, you're not going to take me down with you. I have a daughter I have to show up for. I have a job I have to show up for. And at that moment, other than him putting money in the bank and making sure that bills were paid, he wasn't really contributing much of anything else, because I'm like, can you pick Lily up? A million reasons why he couldn't do it, when really it's just, I'm hungover and that's right around the time I want to start drinking. And when people say things like, oh, it's all in your head, or you're making that up. Well, no fucking shit, Sherlock. My brain is the most powerful thing in my whole body. Like, schizophrenics don't just, like, they don't just think they hear voices. They actually fucking hear voices. It is very real. Like, so I love how you said the relationship with alcohol, because I think a lot of people think that relationship that you have, whether it be with alcohol or mental health or whatever it is, that is a relationship you have forever. It's not like, oh, I'm sober now. Now I don't have a relationship with alcohol. Oh, yeah, you do. Because the moment you no longer have a relationship with alcohol is the moment you're going to start drinking again.
When you let the ultimate guard down, it goes. And, thank you for sharing all that information. That's, you and yourself and my wife should get together and talk, because you guys probably have similar stories. But, I have been through this. I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder as well. That's the house thing.
Me too.
Right?
Yeah.
And they put me on a very mild form of medication. What I like about it is just helps me sleep. Right? That's what really, really, really good. But I notice now that without alcohol and this and the therapy and reframe, like, oh shit, this is what life is like without anxiety. What a fucking head trip, man. But anyway, and back to my wife, was like, she's never sat in for the privacy reasons, but she's also heard some of the stuff. Like,
oh yeah, you hear just as like you're walking to the kitchen and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right, because it gets too close to home for her. It's like, no, that's you. Congratulations. There's no way, because it stirs up shit for her, right? Remember, it goes back to, she saw all of it sober. So her memory of it is like real, where ours is just like, what? I did what? Did I? Yeah, I can remember, sort of.
Yeah. I used to always tell him the next day when he was sober-ish with tears in my eyes, I'm like, you get the privilege of not having to remember everything. And that was something that when he first got sober too, like the first year really, because I mean, I was the same as your wife, except I'm not going to lie, I was kind of mean when he first got sober, because it had gotten to a head, and I just was looking at him like, I mean, in for that first, I'm not going to say the first year, but like the first 6 months, I wasn't really sure that I was going to stay. I was like,
and I've said before, I was okay with it. I was literally,
you were okay.
I was ready to lose. Not my kids. I was ready to lose the relationship
to gain everything.
Back that I'd lost in myself.
Because if it meant losing all of it so that you could have a relationship with your daughter and with yourself, that's different. But like for the first 6 months, I'm not going to lie, I was in this mental state where I was like, well, at least I don't have to worry about him drinking for now, so I can kind of get my head right and figure out what I want. But then after about that 6 months, and we still struggle with this now, and we're kind of on to the next phase of things. I still have all of this trauma. And it, I've had to be very careful about being like, my trauma, my memories, I can no longer displace those on you. You have been sober for 1.5 years. That's not fair. So what do I do with that? And that's something with him too. Like I can't think of an instance off the top of my head, but something would happen and I would have like a reaction. Oh, I know what it was. So we were having a small tiff about like laundry or something really stupid. And he like walked towards the door to like open the door to get around me to be like, I'm not going to argue and be docile. And I grabbed his hand and pushed it down and he was like, don't ever touch me when you're angry. And I stopped, and literally later in the day, I called him and I was like, I did not mean to like push your hand. Honestly, it was like just a physical automatic reaction. And we've never been physical, but just I had heightened emotions and he wasn't engaging. And so it was almost just like muscle memory. And I apologized to him later. I mean, and it wasn't even anything aggressive. It was just like I just literally reacted. And when he first got sober too, with my mental illness, because when he would drink and I would have bad days, we're talking like days where I won't get out of bed, right? And I allow myself those days. I'm very careful about them now. He would just be like, what the fuck's wrong with you? And go drink, because he'd be like, I'm not dealing with that. And then when he first got sober, he was still kind of in that what's going on. But this time he was sober, so he actually was looking at it. And he wanted to fix. And it took him a really, really, really long time to be like, first of all, I'm not broken. So I don't need to be fixed. I'm not broken. Secondly, I've been dealing with this for a long time. I'm okay. And third, I don't need you to fix it. Sometimes I need you to come and just sit in the bed and just exist next to me. Like, don't touch me. Don't ask if I'm okay. Just exist in the background, and he just did not understand that. And I think one time you literally looked at me, you were like, what the fuck do you want? I mean, do you want me to just like stand here? And I was like, yes, I want you to stand there and I want you to do absolutely nothing but stare at me and exist in this moment with me. And he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, I need you to body double. He was like, I was kidding. I'm like, well, I'm not, buddy. Sit your ass down. And it just took him a while to realize, like, just like with alcohol, right? Like, I can't make you not drink. No one can except for you. Yeah. But at the same time, it most certainly helps that I'm not getting blackout drunk every day. And that I'm not sitting here like party, keg stands. I mean, it's that balancing act. And I see a lot of couples who gets sober and it goes downhill. And luckily that hasn't happened I haven't had a drink in
a few months.
Like going on 5 months, I think.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And it's not even that. I mean, you can ask him, like, I would drink, but I would have to stop. Because I can moderate. I just don't want to. I missed out on 20 years with my brother. I missed out on 13 years with my husband. I don't want to miss out. I don't want to be foggy headed. I don't want to be buzzed. I don't want to be blurry. I told him, I'm like, every moment that I want to tell someone, that I even think that I love someone, or I think that someone's nails look pretty, I'm fucking telling them. I don't care. My daughter thinks I'm crazy. She's like, Mom, you're such a weirdo. I'm like, no. If I like someone's earrings, I'm going to be like, girl, I like your earrings. If I like some guy's shoes. Right. I mean, and I'm sure a lot of people think I'm hitting on them, but like, whatever. I mean, if they're like, oh my God, this girl like hit on me today, let it make your day. Because I realize I'm not wasting any more time.
You know what? You're so true. And that's like so much of that. That's what I said earlier. So like you and my wife would love what's happening. And you guys have the symbiotic thing because of your issues and Ryan dealing with it in a particular way, right? So that sounds obviously very dangerous, but now you've come to terms. And yeah, my wife has said the exact same thing. Just be in the room. Just fucking be in the room. And then what can I talk to you about? Don't fucking talk to me. Just be in the room.
Don't talk to me.
You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
Like what? And we know that doesn't make sense.
I told my one of the psychiatrists that I saw early on, he was just a counselor. I said, I just have to sit back, and I have to, like, in the first 6 months, I just have, like I said earlier, I just got to take it, man. I just got to take whatever she has to say. I have to listen to, even though it's like so hard to take because she's reminding me of what I was, and she's dealing with it. That might be like she's dealing it in a mental health way too, right? Because it's like it jarred her life. Like she's used terms to me like, I didn't buy into this life for this. Like she's used that terminology. I'm like, oh my God, the guilt that you feel when you hear that. It's like, what did I do? Right. So, but working it all out and having to be there, being present, right, is such a huge thing for yourself, for those of us now that know we have mental health issues and working on it. Just, you got to find the presence with yourself and the presence with the loved ones, and everything has to be symbiotic, right? It can't be this, like, you can't have a fucking wedge in there. Like, alcohol causes a wedge, right? Especially by the way you just described it. It sounded like, Ryan, you dealt with it in a way where you would go and drink to avoid it, maybe, which only does one thing, makes everything like a whirlpool, makes it fucking worse, man.
Yep.
Mine was just like, she can't stand my drinking, so I'm gonna go drink by myself somewhere, right? And then when I come back, it was all fucking hell. But the beautiful thing is that we're all just the aware, like we're just so blessed now to have an awareness about it, right? Imagine going through this. I think about people like this all the time when I'm on reframe meetings, and I look around. When you look at reframe meetings and the reframe culture, people are okay. You know what I mean? This way, right? Everybody, you don't see. I see through coaching, talking to people. I see people that just don't have the means, right? But when you hear it in reframe, you kind of go, "You're pretty fucking lucky, man. You're lucky that you're doing this, and you can actually get the support, and it costs you a little bit of money for some great support, but you are improving your mental state of affairs, your physical state of affairs, and it's basically a community, because we all know without the community this would not be possible. And a community is a relationship too, right? My wife, like something that you said, I just wanted to touch on too. The 6 months, for the first 6 months, same way. I mean, there was no way she was believing it this time, right? There's just no fucking way.
Yeah, I was angry.
Super angry. I mean, she's just texting me. She's like, she forgot about this. I'm like, I just had to go. You can come pick me up now. She's at work. She's a food and beverage director at a hotel. I'm like, I just typed really quick, interview. She's, taking a cab. But then, if I'm not responding to her, she probably still thinks, what's he doing? Right. Because I caused it. What's he doing? Uh-oh. Like, that still exists. Time takes time, as Kevin says, and time takes time to heal, man. And we all need the healing. You need the healing. You need the healing. I need the healing. My wife needs, my kid. And it's a shame that I put my family in that position of having to use a term, heal. But man, the positive thing is to remain optimistic. I've always been an optimist, even though I've done shitty things. I've always seen the glasses half full, right? You wake up in the morning, yes, this day can be better. Drinking days, I might go fuck it up, but at least I started the day with, this day can be better. And now they are better. They're just better. Every day is just better. Like, I mean, you still have shitty days because life's, like the Marco Polo shit blows up too. I don't know about you guys, but then like the support network within Marco Polo, like we have one group that is like, now we're just fucking super protective of it. Sorry, man. And we talk about some heavy shit, like a bunch of guys talking. And you're like, I got guys, because I'm using sort of, I kind of question guys and bring up topics. They don't know that I'm bringing up topics indirectly, but I get them talking about heavily, really emotional shit, right? Like, you know what? A lot of this stuff is, for me, was like, if you didn't feel, I was a people pleaser, abandoned when I was a kid because of my drunk parents and all that stuff. I split up all that. So I became a people pleaser. I was neglected, so I needed to be the noisiest guy, be the funniest guy in the room. But I also had an emotional reaction, a visceral emotional reaction, if I was being ignored by people that would really crush me. Like, I told, like, my wife early on, you want to get to me? Like, really fuck me up? Ignore me. I can't, like, to this day, it still fucks me up. But so I'll get guys in this group talking about that shit, right? Where back when you were younger, I remember talking about that stuff when I was 17, 18 to guys going, what are you, some sort of fucking poof talking about this emotional shit? No. I wish we had talked about it more. But, That's what this community is. That's what this is. You're sober as fuck. This is so. It's like now all these pieces are in place to make life fucking better. And in the case of this, sober as fuck without alcohol, it's shocking at times. Like going out to do the gigs that I've been doing. Like I went to St. Pierre Miquelon, drunk fucks everywhere, still on stage having a blast, entertaining the shit out of people, enjoying it more because I'm there in the moment. I don't have to worry about slurring words when I'm singing, like I'm steering up little darling, like being off key and all that shit. Now it's just like, hey, shit, man, I'm making this real connection with an audience, and I was always making connection, but now I'm super hyper aware of the connection, right? And it has more of a realistic, which everything else is a lot more real and a lot more rooted in the foundation of reality. Everything else was fucked up, and it was creating bad reality as we did. And mental health can help you that fuck you up and make it create bad reality. But to go back to it, man, I'm just so grateful. I'm just grateful. Like, honest to God, I don't know what else to say. Like, even if I feel shitty, I'll just go, you know what, man, I'm still here. I still got this house. I still got my wife. I still got my dog. I still got my daughter. I still got friends. I'm meeting tons of friends like you guys. Who knew my life would blow up like this, or our lives would blow up with knowing so many people? I mean, you're going to fucking Dallas and hanging out with the Dallas crew, and you're going over and you're interviewing people like, who fucking knew, man? This is fantastic.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be here. That's for damn sure. If you told me this a year ago, I'd never thought.
You were impressive. All the shit that you've been through and that we all been through, and just you are very impressive. I'm so glad to get to know more about you. This is, thank you for sharing so much of your story. That's just amazing.
Thank you. Trauma.
Reality is different, but reality is right there. But how it's woven into our lives is very different. Interpretation. So that's something you said, though. As we live through this and do what we're doing, and you guys doing this, it's like, if we remember, I live by the golden rule now, right? I always have. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. I just believe in that. I'm not a faith, I'm not a God by the fucking organized religion guy, but I believe in that. And that's what's, even though I did some horrible things, but I was under the influence. But you touched on that, Jess. It's just, we always have to remember that, what we put out is what we hope to get back. Right? We put in.
I love you so much, but I'm not quite as petty as this one right here.
Do tell. Do tell.
He has a little, even now, and we're working on it, he's a little petty, like driving down the road. He doesn't have like road rage, but he's like, I'm going to speed up and get that guy. I'm like, why? Why? He never does it.
Shades are red. Look at him.
Right. Or like we're at the Chick-fil-A drive-thru and they just opened and it's taken forever to get our food because they're still training. And my daughter is like, I'm starving. What is taking? These people need to hurry up. I'm like, oh, excuse them for being 17 years old and in training. They've been open for 2 seconds. They should know that you are starving. Relax, child. But for me, it is, and I tell my daughter this, I don't think she gets it yet, but I'm going to beat it into her until she gets it. Something I live by is I refuse to become the thing that I hate.
Yep.
So if someone is doing something to me, if something happens to me and it hurts or it's mean or it makes me feel a certain way, rather than having this retaliation or this pettiness, I think I take that. I take it as a gift, and I think I never want to make someone else feel that way. So, because you'll joke and you'll be like, well, they would have done the same thing. I'm like, why do I want to become the thing that I don't like? If I notice bad behavior, negative behavior out of someone, it's not about getting even or getting back. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm going to make my little mental list of things. Don't do that, because that's shitty. And remember how that made you feel.
Fucking rights, man. The fucking golden rule, baby.
We're working on the pettiness with this one. I mean, he's getting better, but he's just like, I'm going to do it right back.
Yeah.
Maybe
I get a lot better than that.
And I think it drives him crazy because he knows I'm right and I won't play into it anymore. And so I'm like, again,
Well, Ryan,
like, oh, what are you going to do? Not fold my laundry? Ooh, like I'm so scared. I don't care.
Ryan, you're still making adjustments. You got to keep making those adjustments.
Always. It's always this little tweaks.
My theory is everybody can do it if they just tune into the right station, right? Just dial into
That's
the right bandwidth, and you'll get it.
Yeah.
He
I'm still on AM radio, I think. I haven't quite moved up to FM yet, so I'm getting there.
He just likes to know that he can still invoke a little playful reaction.
Sometimes, yeah.
Until I look at him and go, fuck right off.
That's right.
Right on.
All right, Peter. So I got one more question here before we get you out of here. So you being in a band for many years and back in your drinking days, I know inside of you there is one hell of a story back when you were drinking of a crazy place or just a funny story about where you peed
While drunk.
On stage.
Oh, really? Oh, shit. I wasn't expecting that one.
In the beer cup in front of an audience, we were naked, where the entire audience was naked.
Holy shit.
Then they were probably all
We played
peeing
Whistler, and we got drunk.
Oh, no
and
shit.
we were doing mushrooms and coke and drinking. And we started getting naked on stage, and we provoked the audience to get naked. So they did. Then the staff got naked. The doorman ran up, locked the door from the inside because rumor got out really quick. And yeah, I remember just standing there. Oh, I got to cheese them on stage. I got to pee. So I was naked anyway. Beer cup. Just took a pee in front of everybody. Nobody even.
Did they cheer you on? Were they like, yeah?
I think that, but there's probably a lot more than that. But fuck yeah, I can. Yeah,
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's what came to mind. Yeah, we've done that. It's a legendary story. The Hopping Penguins getting naked at what was the place? Garfinkel's in Whistler.
Wow. Well, Peter, buddy, thank you so much for joining the show, man. It was awesome.
At the very least, it's entertaining for when people.
Oh, it always is, no matter what. Especially the story at the end. Are you fucking kidding me? That's great.
I love it.
That's right, and we probably will. We'll have to do a part two.
I really, really appreciate it, Ryan. Now I am, so now I can get to see them. But I've listened to them all, and I know who's coming out tomorrow, and I look forward to hearing his. So.
Oh, yeah.
It's a good one. Great. They've all been really good.
All right, brother. Well, we're going to get you out of here on that note. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.
Unity,
see you, brother.
Peace, love, and unity.
If you love the podcast, which I know you do, please like, subscribe,
and hit that notification bell to get
Boom.
notified every time we post.
That's right. Dropping them, baby. Word.